Welcome to the Social Living Podcast. I am your host, Julian Green. I have my co-host here, Jamal Lawrence. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm cold. I'm in a little shed at the moment, but yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. I'm
That's
good.
good, man. I see we're kind of matching with the brown. It's brown in season. Like, you're the fashion guy, is it? Or
Yeah, it
beige?
is, man. It must be. I know I'm being mentioned this on the last show, but yeah, somehow we always end up matching.
Yeah. It's good, man. It works. It's
No,
spontaneous as well, because it's not like we planned this, but
mm.
it works, innit? So
We have to
we go well.
make it part of the branding. We have to change our icons.
Trust me. Yeah, we do. Change the outfits every week.
Mm.
Top left
Yeah,
there.
yeah. How are you anyway?
Yeah, man, I'm not too bad, not too bad. I mentioned last week I got a lot of changes in terms of work. So I'm just still kind of going through that. But yeah, other than that, like, life is good, man. Enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, looking for my next opportunity as well. Looking to grow more and more. So yeah, man. Just take it every day as it comes.
Mm.
What about you? How's life at work?
Yeah, work's been hectic. It's been real busy. A lot of like meetings, a lot of calls, a lot of strategic conversations, which has been good to be a part of because I've not been a part of these before. So progression, but yeah, busy at the same time. So yeah, can't
No, it's
complain.
good, man. It's good for you. It's just that, especially that exposure. And I know we spoke about it off air. That exposure, being able to be talking confidently, be seen as a leader, is good. It can only enhance your career. So yeah, man, that's
Definitely.
good. That is good, man. We've had some big news this week. Sad news in that. Just the fact that Jamal Edwards, the founder of SBTV, Smoky Bars TV, um, uh, passed away quite suddenly. I know his mom came out with a statement saying that he died of a sudden illness. So I guess from us, we don't really know any more than that. But yeah, so just another one from the industry, from the scene, gone too soon. Uh, I don't know. Do you have any memories or first memories of Jamal Edwards, like how you may have come across him? Or
Yeah, I guess that, like most people, he was kind of my introduction to the music scene when I was probably like 12, 13, maybe a bit under 13, older 13, 14. Um, with his F64s and freestyles and artists like Lady Leisha breaking through, Ed Sheeran, Devlin, Professor Green, like all these guys were my experience into grime. And yeah, he was kind of the trailblazer for that. I know it's been interesting and good to see like all the comments from like industry folks that have kind of spoken on their experiences with him and the way he's pushed them to create channels like Jerome Daily and Link Up TV and
yeah,
how he's been like the catalyst and inspiration for that. Even Stephen Bartlett said the same thing. Like without him, he might have not been as driven to make his agency and stuff like that. So yeah, massive figure in the game, and yeah, it's sad to see him go.
yeah, no, big time. And like, I heard about him like as a person before I ever met him. I met him one time, and I think as a person, like what everybody is saying now, in terms of like such a genuine person, was willing to go out 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning to like shoot their music videos. I remember this is back when I was on the scene, in the sense doing loads of events, acoustic events and stuff like that. And there was a rapper that we were connected to, that we were, I guess, trying to sign at the time. I don't know who we thought we were. And he was I guess he was nobody big. He just had a few freestyles on SBTV, and he just told us that, like, yeah, he always had him on the phone, always like wanting him to do another freestyle. Let's do the next F64, all these different types of things. But he was very, very positive, very motivating, encouraging, and it was like almost selfless. I didn't know him that way, but that's what was told to me, and that was like over 10 years ago. So like to hear like what everybody's saying now, it's like, because someone else has already told me that 10 years ago, it's like, yeah, that's true about this person. I do feel like it is a bit of a shame that like all these outpours and, you know, us giving people their flowers once they've died is a bit sad, isn't it? Like, because he was here, and you know, there were times where I guess the page, like Grime Daily and Link Up TV almost kind of surpassed SBTV in the terms of numbers and where rappers were doing their music videos and stuff like that. And it would have been an amazing thing if rappers could have like gave back to him in that way for his page, you know, and just, you know, drop SBTV something as well. And for me, it would add more credit to, I guess, what they're saying now. But obviously, it is a sad moment for the scene, the grime scene. Every artist I knew from the grime scene, I probably checked them out on SBTV first. So hands down, one of my grime playlist is down to like Jamal Edwards. Do you know what I mean? And even my only encounter with him is a weird one, because I was at a festival, first ever festival I ever went to. This was in 2019. I went to Lovebox. Some may say it's like a cheesy festival, but for a first festival for me, it was amazing. Didn't have to camp nowhere, and it's nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? And like J Hus was there. I think J Hus brought out Dave, and then 2 Chainz was there, and it was amazing. But specifically, I was in the crowd. I actually took some clients there, and we had like VIP tickets, so you could enjoy it from like from a good angle. But I decided to go into the crowd because 2 Chainz was playing. J Hus, I'm like, I want to be in the vibe. Do you know what I mean? And then it was crazy because it was such a friendly vibe, and there was like a group of us that didn't know each other or anything, but we were all on the same page when it came to the music. So it's like we're loving it right now. And next minute, like I think 2 Chainz dropped one of his songs, and it just went off, and everyone's like jumping on each other. The next minute, like I'm looked behind me, and it's Jamal Edwards. I was like, "No, this is mad!" Like, and he was just in the crowd, like with us. And I was like, I had to say something. I was like, "Yo, respect your thing, like love what you're doing and everything." And then he was like, love bro, and then he was just like back in the crowd again. Do you know what I mean? And then like every time we kind of cross paths throughout the festival, it was always like, yo, do you know what I mean? And it was just like, that was my only encounter with him, and it just felt genuine. Do you know what I mean? So like what everybody's saying about him, I can just second that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I guess rest in peace, rest in eternal peace. Jamal Edwards, man, big you up. And if you don't know about him, definitely go out on YouTube, check SBTV, and you know, learn about some of the UK grime scene, hip hop scene, and you'll see the development, and you'll even see artists that are like, they might not even be doing music anymore right now, and they had their moment in time, whether it was like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. People that was on The Voice and stuff like that, like he had some good musical talents on WTV. So yeah, man, we just have to, yeah, man, give him his flowers. Yeah, and let's try and moving forward, let's try and give people their flowers whilst they're here. And it's a great way to do that today in with our special guest.
Sure.
Don't know, do you wanna do the honors?
I guess, yeah. Let me give her a nice introduction. So, yeah, today we've got a guest who I've kind of personally witnessed her journey. She's my partner in crime, so I witnessed her go through the transition of working a traditional 9 to 5 to making a career within baking. So yeah, it's been great to like witness that firsthand, and I guess we've got her to kind of tell her story for herself. So without further ado,
nice. Welcome to the Hashtagliving
Hello.
podcast.
That was
Tanika.
nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. Thank you again, I guess. Thank you for coming onto the show.
No, that's
I believe this is your first appearance on a podcast.
Yes, I've been very nervous about it.
Don't be. You're with 2 people that you know.
No, I know. Yeah.
So yeah, you should feel at home. So You know, you've achieved some big things, and we just want to get to know you, and we don't want to share your story and give you your flowers whilst you are here, obviously. So yeah, man. I don't know, Jam. I think you should let's start it off.
Yeah.
I guess we can go back to the early days. I say the early days, but
Where it started.
Yeah, where you started, but not in terms of business, but in terms of just career-wise and like kind of what you done after school, and we can kind of build it up from there.
So obviously, when I left school, I was always not against university, but I think for this, well, my generation specifically, university was kind of the only thing. I don't know, apprenticeships were quite old school, but I always kind of knew, like, I don't know, university wasn't for me. I was never really typically academic, so I always kind of knew, yeah, I wouldn't enjoy that. So I had a traineeship in housing. It was a 9 to 5. I did do a course alongside it, but it wasn't, you know, the typical university style. You kind of did it alongside your job. So yeah, that was interesting. So I was put in quite a difficult role at a young age. So I was working 9 to 5 from 17. Whereas most of my friends had gone off to university and were, you know, doing freshers, partying. But yeah, I just kind of knew the 9 to 5 straight away wasn't for me. From then, I was always looking for little outlets. I know Jamal can probably vouch for it, but yeah, I was always looking for things that I could do alongside it, or just to keep me stimulated outside of the role, because it was quite a high pressured role. I was working, I don't think many people know what people do within social housing, but it was quite intense, you know, chasing people for rent and, you know, knocking on their door, asking them for money at 17. Quite scary. I was going off to court and doing court cases, standing in front of a judge. And yeah, it just ended up getting me quite down, I guess. I was seeing like people I went to school with enjoying life at university. Obviously, I know it is stressful, but I just kind of knew it wasn't for me. So I ended up leaving that job, going to get another 9 to 5, but training as a personal trainer alongside it, because I'd found this love for fitness while I was working there. And I thought, right, if I can just leave this, you know, stressful job and at least earn money alongside training as a personal trainer in a less demanding role, I might be a bit happier. So yeah, that's what happened. So I was in that initial role for 2.5 years. And then I went to work in HR. 3 months into that job, I found out I was pregnant. So that was a massive shock. Me and Jamal were kind of like, what are we going to do? But yeah, so I still had the aims of like going and being a personal trainer at that point, because I was doing the course. So once we found out we were pregnant, I obviously told our family. I'd only been in that role at my new job in HR for about 3 months. So I was a bit scared because I didn't know how it worked with like maternity leave, and didn't know if I'd receive anything. Thankfully, I think I was like a month over the threshold to receive maternity pay. So that was lucky. But again, I kind of knew 3 months into that job, I was already looking for something else. And
I was going to say just quickly, so I want to take it back a couple of steps, because I think you mentioned some really important things. So you already mentioned that, you know, university wasn't for you. You started the 9 to 5 at 17. That's really young to be doing a 9 to 5. Yeah. I think personally. Can you just like break that down a little bit in terms of like your mindset and maybe how you were feeling at that time in comparison to like your friends who were like doing like their freshers and stuff? Like when you like financially, did you feel like very stable in comparison to your like friends? Did you feel like you couldn't go out as much? Like what was your lifestyle like at that time?
Well, at that time, obviously, I was with Jamal, so I was in relationships. You know, that's like you're kind of in your own little bubble. But again, yeah, it was difficult because, as you probably know, you've been to university. once they go off, they make new friends. So I was still in the same city, but again, yeah, I wasn't able to experience as much because I was working 9 to 5. I was doing it was a really intense job, to the point where I think it had a really big impact on my mental health at that point, because I was going home on a Friday. You know, you work all this week and you just look forward to Friday, and I just wasn't happy in the job anyway. And then it would get to like Sunday night and I'd just be dreading going to work on a Monday. So on the weekend, I'd like just, you know, seclude myself because I was just dreading going back to work on Monday. So yeah, I was watching my friends like partying, and I just didn't want to do anything because I was just dreading that next week. And yeah, it was nice to have, you know, a bit of a better income, but again, it wasn't anything amazing considered how much stress I was being put through. So I think at that point is when I realized, is this really worth it? Like, I had a really, and again, Jamal can tell you, I had a really long battle with myself. Do I leave? Do I stay? Because I was obviously doing the course, but I think in the end it just comes down to your mental health, doesn't it? Because if you're that miserable and you're dreading every week the day before a Monday, it's just not worth it. So yeah, it wasn't a great time. I had, you know, some serious talks with my parents as well, because they were quite worried about me, because I'd missed the opportunity in their eyes to go to university. I knew in the back of my head, I'm still 19, I can go to university, but their mindset's different. But yeah, I just wasn't in a great place. So yeah, at that point, I'd found quite a love for fitness, which is when I'd decided to do a personal training course. But I thought, whilst I'm in this role, my mental health isn't in the place to be doing something fitness related, because if you're not mentally happy, how can you be physically physically fit, if you know what I mean? So I thought, if I can just go and find like a basic 9 to 5 that I can just work Monday to Friday, not stress about it on the weekend, I can really put my all into the personal training. So yeah, that's how I kind of got there, and what made me realize I wasn't happy.
So and when you went into that transition into your new job, like did you just quit and then went looking for a job, or did you have that job lined up?
So I literally remember having a conversation with my manager at the time, because I was really scared to go in. I'd had like a pep talk with my dad the night before, and he's always been really supportive of me. My mum's a bit different. She's, I don't know, a lot more traditional. So she was a bit skeptical about me leaving, because I was doing it was a foundation degree with the company. So I knew I'd have to pay part of that back if I was to leave. But yeah, in the end, I was just like, if I have to, you know, set up a payment plan, if it's worth me being happy. So I remember the conversation. At this point, I didn't have a job lined up. I'd been looking and I'd been applying, but I was kind of at the point, if I have to go and work in retail for a few months, I'll do it. So yeah, I remember having the conversation. And for like a 19-year-old and telling your manager you hate your job, it was really nerve-wracking. But, you know, they were really accepting, and they kind of just said, well, she kind of spoke to me on more of a personal level, which was nice. I remember the conversation, you know, she told me, if you're not happy, like, why put yourself through this? So yeah, I kind of handed my notice in, but there wasn't a specific time frame. She just said, once you find something, let me know and we can do it formally. So that was really nice to have a manager who could connect with you on just a bit more of a personal level. That really helped. So yeah, luckily I was able to find a job in HR within like 4 weeks, and I was off. Pretty much.
That's good.
It was
That's
strong.
good.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, strong emotions to go through at such a young age.
It was really difficult, because you think it's like the be all and end all. I look back now and I realize, like, oh gosh, it really wasn't that deep, but at the time it was like the worst thing in the world.
I guess, yeah, like you said, you look back on it and you do gain something from these times,
definitely.
like resilience and finding your feet.
The job itself changed me as a person, because I was really, in school I was I still am to some extent, but a real introvert. So to go into a job where you've got to chase people for rent and deal with antisocial behaviour and take them to court, it just puts you out your shell immediately. So yeah, I did learn a lot from that role. I just think mentally it was really difficult at such a young age.
Sure.
And how long were you doing that role for again? Was that 2 years?
2.5 years, yeah.
So would you say it was quite taxing on your mental health throughout that whole time? Or
so until I was I was a housing officer, so that was my job role, or trainee housing officer. But for the first 6 months, I was just doing admin, so that was my introduction. And then they gave me, so we'd have like our own patch of properties that we looked after. So I think it was about 6 months in, they gave me my own patch. Again, I just think it was way too soon. Like the housing officers I was working alongside well, again, another thing was I wasn't working with anyone my age. People were twice my age and they'd been in the job for years. So they'd never had a trainee before either, which I don't think helped. They didn't really know how to maneuver the role. So yeah, I'd say maybe about 3 months into having my own patch, that's when I really noticed a change in myself. I just wasn't happy.
Now I'm just trying to figure out the time it took you from like once you realized until like once you kind of took that step into that next direction. Because I know like I probably say this every episode. Stephen Bartlett's podcast. Stephen Bartlett likes to talk about like quitting as soon as you know. Do you know what I mean? As soon as you're aware that this isn't going to be it for me, or this is extremely taxing, you just kind of quit it before you kind of get stuck in kind of accepting it.
Yeah. So, I think for me, because again, I always come back to my parents, but they're very, they just suck it out. That was it. Like my mum's very stick it out. If after 5 years you really hate it, we'll see it then. But to them, it was like, look, people aren't happy at work. You go to work to earn a living. So to me, when you live at home, that's drilled into you. I just kind of kept putting it to the back of my mind. It's only until I had those, difficult conversations with myself and Jamal, it was like, yeah, this not okay. Which I really love about our generation now is we're finding other outlets to make money, and yeah, I guess that would lead on to where I am. But you realize you don't have to be miserable every day to make a living.
But I think it's important.
Not everyone.
About obviously you can have conversations with family, friends, but ultimately it comes down to you, like just having those, like you said, those conversations with yourself, understanding what you actually truly want, and then acting upon that. Like obviously you're gonna get opinions from different people, but it's your life. You have to kind of take control of that, and that's what you do.
Yeah. So kind of moving on, so like you transition now, you're working in HR. So you're on your second 9-to-5 job, and you're still only 19 years old. And you're doing your PT course or personal training course on the side. So like, talk us through maybe your first couple months doing that.
Yeah, so I think I'd just turned 20 actually at that point. 20, yeah. So I'd just gone into the HR role. It was really refreshing for me because I've actually met some of my best friends there now, but it was just like a younger crowd. So I know it sounds silly, but in my last job, I just wasn't happy again because lunchtimes I wouldn't have, sometimes you have those people you can go off and vent to. I never had that because everyone was a lot older than me, so I couldn't relate. So this job, it was quite refreshing just to have some like girls my age. So again, the job wasn't brilliant. It was nowhere near as stressful. It was more, I couldn't find the balance because it wasn't as stimulating. It was basically just like a HR admin job. So instead of going home on a like Friday and dreading work, I was more dreading work because I knew I'd be bored all week kind of thing. So there was no like happy medium. But it was nice because I had like people there I could enjoy the work life with or vent to, and so that was a bit more refreshing. But again, I wasn't stimulated. I couldn't it was weird because I'd like go home and I'd try and do the PT course, but where I was focusing so much on trying to find another job to earn a living, I couldn't put my all into that. It's just, yeah, it was just trying to find the balance. But again, at that point, I just kind of knew 9 to 5. I didn't want it. So that's why I had the PT course to kind of keep me focused. I hopefully knew eventually that I'd be able to go on and do that. Actually, at that point, I'd started my own YouTube channel. So it didn't really go anywhere at all. But it was just kind of having that like outlet for me, just to focus on when I got home from work. So, and like I'd focus on my Instagram account, knowing that hopefully once I'm in a position and I'm qualified, I could have that there as a foundation. But yeah, 3 months in, I found out I was pregnant. And that's where it all kind of changed, I guess.
Yeah. I think, you said some good things there, man. Because like, obviously I mentor kids between the ages of like 14 and 18. And a lot of them feel like they don't know what they want to do and things like that. And your story right there, even what you just shared so far, I think is really important because you've gone, you have like this 9 to 5 and that's just not it. And you still went home and tried to stimulate yourself, which could just lead to different opportunities. So you did your YouTube channel, you did your PT course, you just tried different things, not knowing if it was going to be like long term or anything. You just tried it and you just wanted to see, okay, where would this go? This is just an outlet. That's all it was for you. And I'm sure as we kind of go on, it will probably lead to more opportunities. So you're now what, 20, working in HR. It's, you like the environment, but you don't like the
job itself.
Yeah, exactly. And now you've been given a blessing of having a baby, which was obviously unplanned. So how did you take that on?
Yeah, that was a bit mad. Yes, obviously we found out, and it was weird. Although it was unplanned, I just knew that we'd be okay. I'd actually be more scared now if I was pregnant than what we were back then. So yeah, it's weird because I look back now and we were so young, but to us, we just knew we were ready. I mean, we'd been together 5 years. Most people looked at us as, 2 16-year-olds that got together and were somehow still in this relationship. But I just always knew we'd be okay. So yeah, I remember having the conversation with my manager. I told her really early because I didn't know I'd never done this before, obviously. So I didn't know when you were supposed to tell people. So yeah, I remember like saying to her, I'm pregnant. Will I be entitled to anything? That's literally the first thing I said. And she said, no, don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. So at that point, I knew I had to stay in the job. I didn't have no choice because I was actually looking at that point for something else. So yeah, again, I knew, it was just a really crazy time when I think back to it.
Did the pregnancy at all like change your outlook on work and like what you wanted to do? Like at that point, was you in the mind?
I knew it would obviously affect personal training. I was at that point, I was trying to think of ways I could incorporate it into being a mum. So I thought about, maybe I could do, mum to be classes, or get like after, like, I don't know, postpartum women into like classes. But again, I think I was a bit naive because I didn't know how I would complete the course being pregnant, because I'd never been pregnant before. And when I suffered with morning sickness and not wanting to go to the gym, it kind of completely threw me off track. But yeah, at that point when I found out, no, I thought I can still do this. Like people get on with it. But it was only like halfway through the pregnancy I realized I was probably not going to be able to do it as quickly as I thought. Yeah, it was the job more than anything.
Did you complete the personal training course in the end?
No. No matter what, to this day. No.
Is it still something you might want to complete?
I don't know. Probably not now. No. I think I got like halfway through and I was too sick in the end. I thought I can't do this, but
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, cool. So obviously you went through the I guess the obstacles of being a mum, going through the things like morning sickness,
Mm.
hormones, all those different things. We don't need to go into any details about that, but just to kind of set the scene. So now, let's say you've given birth, you're receiving your maternity pay. Like how long were you expecting to like take off work? Like when like after your son was born,
Mm.
like how long did you think you're gonna wait until you kind of go back to work?
Yeah, so I knew I'd be entitled to something for 9 months, and we kind of worked out we could live off that. So I'd set that like initial time frame. Amazing if we were able to take a year, but I kind of realistically knew a year wasn't going to be possible. So yeah, that's kind of where the baking career started, I guess. So I just had my son, Elias, and I know some mums are probably gonna like scream at me for this, but he'd just been born and it was about 2 weeks in, and I was just really bored. But I was living in the Forest of Dean. Not many people are gonna know what that is, but there's not a lot going on. I didn't really have any other friends who had children. Again, being quite a young parent, I didn't really put myself in those positions to go to like mummy classes or anything. So yeah, I was just a bit bored, which is when I started baking. I actually started doing a bit of baking on maternity leave. I don't know if Jamal remembers, but
Yeah, I remember.
I'd like come home and there'd be like a lemon drizzle cake because I was like, I don't know, I just didn't have nothing to do. I was actually like quite blessed within the end of my pregnancy because I felt fine. I didn't really suffer with anything. So yeah, when Elias was born, I just started baking. I'd really got into Instagram as well, like finding other bakers, and I don't know, I just kind of found a bit of a hobby, I guess. So yeah, I was baking for like Jamal, my family, and then I ended up well, I'd found these like cookies on Instagram. So they were like deep dish cookies. And I remember saying to Jamal, like, oh, I've got to learn how to make these. Like, I don't know what it is. I just had it in my brain, like, I have to make them. I didn't know how people were making them. I didn't know how they were getting the shape. And I ended up doing it one day when he was at work and Elias was asleep. And I'd taken all these photos and I'd done all these different flavors. I was just so happy because I'd found out how to do it. And I'm still not going to tell people because they always ask me. And I'm like, no, I'm not letting anyone into this secret. Yeah, so I'd like made these cookies and we were going to visit a friend that weekend. And taking them with me. And she ended up putting them on her Instagram. And at this point, I kind of had like a little Instagram page that I'd made out of like boredom. And I was just posting my bakes. So it was more like a blog than anything, like something I'd made today or me baking on my stories. This was all while like Elias would be napping or asleep.
This is pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah. So this is probably, I don't know when the pandemic really started. It was about March, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah. So this was probably like December, January 2019, 2020. And I think it was in the December that I'd taken these cookies to a friend and she put them on her Instagram. And she tells me she got loads of hype over them. So I wasn't expecting it. I was just kind of like giving them to her because I'd made them. And I remember getting my first like DM and someone was asking me if they could buy them. And at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. I remember like I was sitting with Jamal. I was like, someone's asked to buy them. Like, what do I do? Yeah, so that was just crazy. Like, even that I never expected. I was just kind of doing it for fun. So yeah, I can't really. I think it was just the one person. But I was going away that weekend. The weekend the girl had asked to buy them, and I said to Jamal, like, I can't do it. He was like, you have to do it. You know, if you don't do it, like you're missing out on an opportunity. And in my head, I thought I didn't really want like an opportunity. I was just doing it for fun. And he actually ended up delivering them for me. So he drove from the Forest to Cheltenham, which is about 45 minutes, delivered these cookies that I'd like made and sealed. They look really bad when I look back on it now, but
because I remember that day. I remember walking up and down some
trying to find the house.
Trying to find the house, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd gone on holiday with my parents, and I remember my mum saying, "Just leave it, you know, you'll get more people interested." And I just thought, no, I can't. Like this could be it. Like if she gets them, she'll tell somebody else. So I thought, no, I have to take the opportunity. And yeah, she did. She told her best friend. I think she put it on her Instagram, and tagged me. And then all of a sudden, I got like all these followers. I was like, oh my god, like my page doesn't even look ready. But I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like you kind of tell yourself that you have to be perfect before you've even begun. And that's one thing I've learned. Like you really don't.
Yeah, I think people get caught up in trying to perfect it or be the end goal, especially when you start comparing yourself to other people on Instagram.
Yeah.
They kind of want to be where the established people are but they started from somewhere as well. So it's okay, like, to start and not be perfect, be where you want to be, because you can get there. And I think it's better because you can almost take like your audience along the journey as well. They get to see it from the start, from the basic days where cookies are dry and packaging's falling apart or wherever it might be, to where it is now, and you get to build that community alongside it as well, which is equally as important.
Yeah, people buy into you that way, innit? They want to see the story of like where it first started. Like it'd be good to know, like, so when you first started, what was your page called? Was it what is it what it
I
is
think it was
now?
initially it was Bakes by Tea.
Okay.
And then I changed it. I can't remember why, but I changed it to Treats by Tea. And since then, so pretty much from the start, it's been Treats by Tea. Yeah, my logo was completely different. Initially I'd made like my own logo on, it was like Canva or something. And then I ended up having a logo which was like an illustration of me. And that's when it really started to kick off. And then obviously the pandemic hit. So yeah, I'd sold obviously my first lot of cookies to this one customer, and she posted about it. And then Jamal kind of said to me, like, why didn't you do a giveaway? At this point, I didn't know what giveaways were. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And it just blew up, really. For me, it blew up. Considering I had like 15 followers, I think I gained like 200 in a day. And it just kind of like spiraled from there, really. And then it was around February, I think we started first hearing about COVID. And we were just about to buy a house. Luckily, before the pandemic hit, I think it was like the day they stopped house moves, we moved, didn't we?
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't have loads. I think I'd done my first like lot of orders. So like the weekend before we moved, I'd done some deliveries around Gloucester. So I started advertising, just to say like I was doing cookies, I could deliver to your door. So we'd go out on a Saturday morning with Elias in the back in the car seat and like do random drop-offs around Gloucester. And yeah, at this point, people were a bit scared to go out their houses anyway, so it was perfect. You know, they could get cookies delivered to the door. So yeah, that's kind of where it all kicked off.
So would you say the demand kind of grew even more so with COVID?
Yeah, definitely. At first, I didn't like admitting that. I kind of wanted to give myself all the credit, but I don't actually think it would have grew as quickly as it did without like COVID or anything.
So yeah, the timing was like kind of like the stars aligned. Like it was kind of meant to be. Obviously, like you've not got on with your last few jobs. Your pregnancy didn't go as well as you hoped. Elias came, and then I guess that was like the catalyst, and things started to change. And
I literally, I always say, like, I look at Elias and I just think I wouldn't have, you know, without having him, I wouldn't have my second baby, I guess. Like the business is like my other pride and joy, but without him, it wouldn't exist. So yeah, like Jamal said, although everything else before that didn't feel like it was going right, once that kind of happened, it kind of all aligned perfectly. But yeah, the pandemic and COVID just really helped me, I guess. Once we moved into this house in Gloucester, that's when I was able to really like maximize on what I could. So living in the Forest of Dean, obviously my customer who I could outreach wasn't as great. So when we was living here, more people could come and collect, or at that point I couldn't do collections because of obviously the pandemic, but I could go and deliver to people more locally. So I was a bit more accessible, which was good. And yeah, kind of just through the beauty of like Instagram and social media, I was able to grow. So I would like bake everything on a Sunday evening, and then Mondays I would just go out and deliver whilst Elias would sleep in the back in the car seat all around Gloucester. And that was at the very start of the pandemic. It's just crazy the amount of people that wanted cookies and brownies because they couldn't get them from like other cafes because they were closed. I was like, yeah, God's gift at that point.
Yeah, it sounds amazing because you literally did grab like this opportunity with both hands, and
yeah, I did.
It sounds amazing. And I really want to show the other side as well. So I want to know, like, so you made your first sell, you had no idea what you were doing.
Yeah.
So like as the demand grew, like what obstacles did you face? Like, did you end up changing the packaging straight away? Like, what did you do? Like as you started getting into more regular deliveries and things like that?
Yeah, so again with the packaging, you like realize things weren't working. So accessing things as well, because deliveries were so delayed. So I remember trying to get like boxes in time with like as the demand was growing, boxes would be late. So I'd have to like get Jamal to run around Bookers and like go and find boxes for me. And then apologize to people because cookies were in pizza boxes, because deliveries at that point were like ridiculous. Just moving into a new house, I was like trying to suss out the oven, like because I had this like demand, but we was like trying to bake in a new oven, so that was really difficult. Like trying to get, I know it doesn't sound difficult, but it is, like trying to get your cookies to bake perfectly. Yeah, and just having a baby, really trying to do that around him. Jamal was working from home at that point, so I'd like try and ask him to watch Elias, but he couldn't really because he was trying to work. So it was stressful, definitely. A lot of nights in the kitchen. I feel like you're gonna say something. You're smiling.
I was gonna say about the Kinder Bueno story.
Oh yeah. So there was this Kinder Bueno spread, like really popular, and everyone, you could get it from Morrison's. That was it. It was like a white chocolate hazelnut spread, and it had just vanished. It had gone out of stock, and I had like, I don't know, loads of Kinder Bueno cookies ready to go out. Couldn't find this spread anywhere. I was ringing Morrison's like all around the area, couldn't get it. But I think you ended up finding it, didn't you? I sent you out on like a goose chase to go and get it. But yeah,
I was just gonna say, yeah, it got to a stage where obviously that was your most popular flavor, and there wasn't any Bueno spread available.
No, the demand for it.
I remember one night being in the kitchen trying to make our own spread.
We did try and make it. Yeah, we was blending up hazelnuts, probably waking up Elias.
Did you get like close?
Yeah, at one point I thought we could sell this.
Yeah, I remember we were like crackheads in a crack den, like
yeah, like blended it up.
Go out and sell it.
So many hazelnuts. Yeah, I did think at one point we could sell this, but I think I ended up finding a supplier online and getting it in like a bigger batch. So even in that sense, like I just knew I was growing because I couldn't even source it from local supermarkets anymore. Yeah, but again, like with the other side of it, it was just more the late nights or the stresses it takes on you, like trying to be a family. And then I felt guilty almost that I was meant to be enjoying mum life, but that I don't know, it's not that wasn't fulfilling me enough. It's just that I'd kind of found this thing at that point in my life, and I didn't want to let it go, if you know what I mean, because I'd searched so long for something that I enjoyed and would hopefully make me some money. I knew I couldn't just stop because I had a child, and it did work perfectly because I could kind of do it when he was napping. But yeah, it was definitely stressful in the beginning.
And that's an important note as well about mum guilt and how women are in business and have their own business or are just working in general, how they cope with that. What advice would you kind of give to other women that kind of strive to have their own business or kind of focus in their career whilst having kids?
Yeah, I think you just got to realize that I mean, at that point, he was so small, he didn't have a clue. It's more his age now. So now he's a toddler and he wants me to interact with him. You've just kind of got to set your side of time, but you've got to like make a living at the same time. And he understands that. He will as he gets older. I mean, even now he'll say to me, you know, mummy work, mummy bake. It's easier now he's older, but I don't think you'll ever be able to get over the mum guilt. I think it's just a thing. Like, you'll speak to any mum, and I don't know if dads get it as much. I don't know. But yeah, I think we are slowly like getting to that point where it's becoming more common or more accepted. I don't know, where mums like can work, and a lot more mums do work full time. I mean, I did end up going back to work part-time for a little period of time, alongside the business. And that was probably like the most guilt I'd ever felt, because I was baking every evening and then going to work, you know, 3 days a week, and he'd go off to the childminder. So that's the worst like mum guilt I felt. But at that point, it was more so, you know, whilst he was tugging on my leg, I was like trying to get a batch of cookies out really quickly. So yeah. But I don't think we'll ever combat it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I had a similar conversation with my wife earlier today, asking her if she ever felt mum guilt, and she mentioned the same time period as well, where when she started going back to work and we had to leave our son, you know, at the childminder, it was at that point where she kind of felt it. But she said to this day that she doesn't feel that anymore. It was just that at that time she might have felt like, I could be teaching him something, or I could be, you know, that type of, you know, I could be doing a little bit more with him as opposed to somebody else doing that for me. But she said as time kind of grew, it was like, no, this is probably what's best for him, because he needs that interaction with like other kids and things like that. And we saw more growth in our son like during that period than we did maybe a couple of months before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's that initial, because you're so used to spending all this time with them. I think more for me is because at that point we was all in a lockdown, but whereas most people were switching off and, you know, kicking back, I was so busy. And Jamal was really busy because he was still working. He didn't stop working at all. It may have been from home, but I think the job got even busier at one point.
Yeah.
So we had like our son at home with us, and we're both trying to technically work full time. So yeah, that was more my guilt. While I saw some of my friends like going out on daily strolls, I was trying to run a business and Jamal was working. So that's where my guilt really hit in. I thought, gosh, should I really be doing this? Should I be soaking up the time with him instead? But I'm glad I did, because it's got us, to where I am now.
Mm-hmm. Right, so it's an amazing journey. I think one thing that I would like to know as well is like, you know, how did you deal with like the pricing of everything? Did you always run at a profit? Were you working at a loss?
Definitely, yeah. Within the first, 6 months to a year, I'm going to be completely honest, I've never been great with like the whole, you know, profit loss, etc. In the beginning, I was kind of just winging it. I didn't really know. But yeah, I was making money, but not to the extent I knew I could be. But I kind of learned that along the way, you know, with cheaper packaging, buying things in bulk. In the beginning of the pandemic, I couldn't even get flour at one point. So I'd be going to corner shops where it's really pricey, because that's the only place I could buy it. So at that point, I probably, you know, was running at a loss, because you just couldn't get flour anywhere. I remember queuing at Lidl from 7 in the morning and it opened at 8 just so I could get in there and get the first bag of flour. So yeah, it that wasn't easy with trying to, you know, source the best places, you know, to make the most money. But for me, honestly, like I say it now, obviously I do it full time, so it is more so about money. But when I first started doing it, it really wasn't about that for me. I kind of just found a hobby that other people enjoyed, and I was just doing it. The money kind of came with it, which was great. But yeah, I definitely probably was running at a bit of a loss in the beginning.
And how would you like, are you happy with the process that you kind of went through to kind of work it into a profit now? Or is there any advice you may give to someone that could maybe like avoid some of the mistakes that you made to kind of, you know, reach that point?
I mean, with me again, if you are looking to, you know, it depends what vision you're going into it with. Like if you kind of fall into something like I did, I would take that journey again, because it's kind of got me to where I am now. But if you are going into, you know, with a business mindset, you know, just trying to find out, you know, where you can source things, more like wholesale, trying to find out, I don't know, the cheapest packaging that you can get, because, you know, that there's a lot more places out there than you think. And just doing your research, really, because I definitely didn't. I would buy stuff off eBay just because it was the quickest thing I could find, rather than finding, you know, the cheapest thing I could, not the cheapest, but, you know, the more accessible it was, I would just buy it. So I didn't really go into it with the best approach. But again, I didn't intend on it, so it was a bit different.
No,
Yeah, I think it's also, it's important to highlight that, because when you start off running your own thing, you have no processes.
No.
When you're working 9 to 5, you've got someone that kind of puts these processes in place, and you just follow how that's kind of led. So you ultimately you build your own business, you build your own processes, you learn and make things work, whatever way was possible, and you find that along the way. Again, people try and want that final goal initially when they first start, and it's not always attainable. So yeah, it's good thing to highlight, I guess.
So you're now, you know, effectively running this part-time. You're on maternity leave. Let's say now you're in the process of kind of going back into working was it full-time? Did you go back into working full-time?
I went back part-time, so I went back 2.5, was 18 hours a week. So we'd kind of had the conversation, me and Jamal, because obviously we just bought a home, had a mortgage to pay. So at that point, I was doing okay. I was consistently getting orders every week. By this point, I'd been approached by a local pizza business, and I was supplying the brownies there. So I had some like regular streams of income, but I was still I didn't know if I was ready to take the risk to do it full time. So I decided to go back to work, and I actually ended up going back into the job role that I'd initially done when I'd left school. So the one that made me really miserable.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I'd been approached by a company and the hours were just perfect. It aligned with the childminders. So, you know, when you're a parent, you take any opportunity you can that's going to work around your child. So I ended up doing that. Yes, it was 18 hours a week. So I had the start of the week off with my son, and I'd do orders in the evenings. And then I would go to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and end up baking in the evenings again. So I was basically baking every night just to fulfill orders and everything I could. So the job wasn't brilliant, but it was money to me. It was able to tie me over, and it actually put me in a position where I could put more into the business, I guess, which I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you said that as well. Is that, you know, some people might feel like they might have an idea and they have a hobby or whatever, and it's working, but it's not quite ready in terms of you to go full time, and you needed your work to kind of help you kind of fund the business at the same time. At what point did you know you were ready to kind of go, I'm going to do this full time?
So the job role I was in, there was a massive restructure within the company. So initially I was working as a housing support officer. So I was kind of just on the phones all day. I was the only one. So at that point, I think we'd just gone into another lockdown when I started. So I was literally the only person in my team alongside another woman in the office. And I thought, how have I ended up back here? Like I remember sitting one day and thinking, I've done all of this you know, found a hobby, able to make money, and I'm back in the position I was when I was 17, not happy. So I kind of knew I wasn't happy there, but I was just ticking along because I knew, again, we had to pay a mortgage, and I was just a bit scared of the risk of being fully self-employed, because I'd never really known anyone who was self-employed, and I didn't know how it was going to be. So I stuck at it for 9 months, and then within my team there was a big restructure, and the job role they'd asked me to go into, I just kind of knew I wasn't going to do it. I thought, right, I've got this business, it's doing pretty well. I don't want to do this job. I could have, because I remember my manager begging me to stay, because they were really struggling for people. But I just kind of thought, no, I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm unhappy for no reason. It's not like I had to stay. So yeah, I just kind of went for it, handed in my notice, and within 4 weeks I was self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
How were those first days?
Hey? Sorry?
The Monday after you left, what was the feeling like the Monday after you left?
I didn't really feel any different, if I'm honest. I didn't feel different because I was still running the business anyway. It just kind of felt like, oh, I didn't have to go to work this week. It was quite a nice feeling. It was like refreshing. It was like, right, I can really put my all into this now. Because I kind of felt like when I'd gone back to work part-time, I just like completely fell out of love for it in a way. It kind of felt like a chore, like in the evenings. Like I remember getting orders through and thinking, oh, not another order. Because I'd been at work, and then I'd pick my son up, and I didn't really want to go and bake in the kitchen all night. So when I handed in my notice, I thought, right, I can try and find my love for it again, which I did. Again, with like social media, I just completely fell off, because the last thing I wanted to do was, post on Instagram or when I'd been at work all day. So yeah, it was good. It kind of like gave me that motivation again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, importantly, obviously you mentioned social media there. And I know I don't know when it was, if it was then or before you introduced your website and before you did everything through DMs. Like,
yeah, so
what was your thought process behind that, and how did you find having a website helped you?
Initially, yeah, so I'd take all orders through DMs, which was crazy. Like I'd literally be on my phone all day. It was awful. Again, the mum guilt, like being on my phone whilst he was trying to get my attention. So I think I did that for about close to a year, taking orders through DMs. And then I introduced the website, which was like a godsend. I do still get inquiries over DMs, but nowhere near as what I used to. So yeah, that was really helpful, even just for like the process side of things, like being more organized, like not missing orders, because when people are DMing you, you can't keep a track of who's paid, who hasn't. So with the website, it was very streamlined. I knew who had ordered, when they placed the order, how long I had all my FAQs on the website, so they knew when they was going to receive it. Again, I made the website myself, so there were still a few like teething issues, but it definitely changed the game for me. Like I knew
how did you know that you needed a website? So like you got all these DMs and you're thinking, oh, this is crazy. Well, did you feel like, oh, I can just answer every single DM? Like at what point did you like, okay, the solution to this is going to be the website?
I think when I was just on my phone constantly, and again, I would miss an order because I'd have so many DMs coming in and out every day. There might be one that, say someone had paid but didn't reply, I'd miss an order and they turn up at the door, and I was like, oh gosh, yeah, I had that a few times. So I knew that was, it's time to move away from this. I can't keep running the business this way. So at that point, I decided to open up the website. It was just too messy. It was too messy, and it was taking up too much of my time. I didn't need to be sat on my phone, but I would, because as soon as I got a DM, I felt like I had to answer it because I didn't want to lose the order. Whereas with the website, it was kind of up to the customer when they wanted to place it and how they did it.
Amazing. That's amazing. I love the growth. I think the growth from me, I've seen it. I've ordered your cookies. I think I do. I think every time I do it through DM. Obviously, because I know you
Oh
personally.
no, that's fine. No. People still, to be honest, loads of people still do it through DM.
But if you haven't tried her cookies, they're amazing. Some of my favorites are I love birthday cake. I don't know if that's still in demand, but that to me is just like
No, it's not as
heaven.
popular. I feel like more people need to try it, but it's not as popular.
Oh, it's an amazing story, and I feel like I still have a few more questions because I know we spoke about pricing. Jamal mentioned obviously social media, and obviously it's clear that social media is like your main marketing platform, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about some of the strategies that you use to kind of help, build demand and promote your products and services?
I think I'm still learning, definitely. Like I'm very lucky I have Jamal as well. Just being consistent for me. I think just being consistent. One thing I've found like recently is just being active on your social media. I find when I have a period of not being active and not posting anything, my orders, weirdly, you notice the change, like my orders will dip. I find it, I say this to Jamal all the time, but I really don't like social media. So it's difficult for me because I don't enjoy it, but I know I need it because I wouldn't have had a business without Instagram. Like I say it all the time, without Instagram, Treats by Tea probably wouldn't exist. And it's a scary thought, but this is why I'm kind of glad I got the website, and I knew I needed the website because I couldn't solely depend on, a social media page to run my business, especially going full time. But yeah, strategy, to be honest, I'm still learning. Like for me, it's just being consistent on, on your socials, and keeping your audience engaged with what you're doing. Reels, I know at the moment is like what everyone is about. I'm trying, like I really am, but I find it's harder than it looks to me anyway.
It definitely is. I say this to most clients as well, because some people just have the perception of social media like it's just really simple because they might have their own personal Instagram and they think they could just post as however they want. And when you have consistency and a strategy, it makes everything a lot easier. It is a lot of work to do because after you've done baking, especially if it's just you, maybe Jamal might be helping you as well. But if it's all you and you're just a one-man band or one-woman band in this case, it's a very taxing job. Like you're baking, you're still a mom full time, and you got to post, come up with content. How are you gonna, like, what you're gonna come up with? You got to write calendars and all these different things. There might be more than one social media platform that you used. Are you using other platforms outside of Instagram?
So I do use Facebook, but not as intensely. So I kind of have it linked to my Instagram, so that helps. But yeah, no. Apart from that, it's just Instagram and Facebook, really.
Okay, interesting. Are you considering opening up to other platforms and playing around with it?
Yeah, not at this point. I think because I can't even keep on top of what I've got. Like you said, like it's difficult because you do everything. It comes to the end of the day and you realize you haven't even posted something. So that's what I'm really trying to get in the habit of doing, really. But yeah,
amazing. And outside of like your website and social media, have you tried any other types of marketing, whether it be email marketing, adverts, or anything like that?
Yeah, so I did a few like Facebook ads. Just I haven't done them in a while, to be honest. But yeah, so Jamal actually helped me with that because if I'm honest, I don't know what I'm doing. So he could probably speak more on how well it did. But I just kind of noticed the orders coming in more than anything. Yeah, apart from that, I did say like I want to try and get a bit more old school and like kind of go into more cafes and things like that with my bakes. Because I feel like we're kind of losing touch of like personal interaction now. Like I remember when I used to I still get flyers through the door of people's businesses, and we don't do that anymore, do we? It's all online, and it does scare me a bit, because it's kind of like, if I didn't have this, then would I have a business? So I would like to. I think this year, like, trying to get my name out there a bit more personally is my aim.
I guess your markets come into that as well. That can
My
be seen
markets, yeah.
as a type of marketing. In terms of having like a physical pop-up at
I forget about that, because it's like once a week. So yeah, I do the market at Swindon every Sunday, and that's been really good. Even just to have like my gazebo with my social media, I kind of notice at the end of the day I've like gained a few followers from people who have just seen that. So that has been really good, and it's really nice getting to know your customers, or just having that personal interaction, and without having to have a shop or anything. So the market is good. I would like to get into a few more markets in the future, but we'll just see how this one goes for now.
If you mentioned the gazebo, and obviously your branding's all over that, was that like a conscious, when did like branding and marketing become like a conscious thought of yours? So I know just knowing the business and where it's come from.
I probably think like
to that.
Sorry, I lost you then.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think like 6 months in. So when I had my initial brand like logo, it was a picture of me, and I just remember thinking like, I don't like this. So I kind of like set everything. I changed everything. I got someone to do my logo what it is now. Just somebody local, actually. She was really good. She was really helpful. Yeah, so that's when it first like hit me like consciously, like I want everything to look a bit more professional. So with the gazebo, my main intention was just to try and get the name out there as big and bright as possible, I guess. Yeah, so social media everywhere, kind of like put it in people's faces, because I just want people to notice it straight away before they even see the product. Sometimes I want them to see the brands, just so they can get a gauge of what it is.
Even with your box, sorry, just quickly, even with your boxes as well, I know the initial cost of that was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
How did you feel about like making that decision, and at what stage did you feel like that was the right one to make?
I think I kind of knew that I was getting to a place where I was doing a lot more online orders. So my orders were going out to people all over the UK. So I wanted something that kind of stood out a bit more. I'd ordered off other small businesses at this point, because you kind of get into like a Instagram, I don't know, you just end up connecting with loads of people in small businesses, and I'd ordered from them and their boxes were a lot more personal. So I thought, oh, maybe this is something I should invest in. And it's probably been one of my best investments, because I always get compliments on the branding. I think it makes people come back a bit more if, they get something and it looks a bit more professional, or I don't know, tidier. So yeah, I think, again, it just comes with growth. I just knew I was at a point where I wanted everything to look a bit more professional.
And I guess that, like what you just said there, like growth, I can see that is something that is obviously has helped you. You had to grow, you had to learn about branding. I'm assuming you didn't know anything about branding, marketing, social media, accounting, things like these things that are probably all different like things that you have to learn when you're like going full-time, you're self-employed. In terms of like the accounting side of things, how have you found that, like knowing your numbers? Is that still something you're learning? Do you feel like it's been a real struggle? Like, how did you find it?
Struggle. I said to Jamal, because so I have QuickBooks, so that's it's kind of like an online accountant. Yeah, literally. Without that, I'd be all over the place. I'm not very like number oriented anyway. So yeah, I've just learned as I've gone on, a lot of Googling. I've been in touch with accountants, so I've had I've worked with someone closely who really helped me within the past year kind of get up to date with everything. But now I'm starting to try and take it into my own hands, because I've realized I need to know my numbers. I can't run a business especially fully self-employed and not know what's coming in and out. So again, it was just learning for myself. And it is difficult. It is really difficult because the last thing you want to do after baking, packaging, sending out an order, social media is then go and look at your finances. It's like the last thing you want to do, but I'm just trying to force it on myself to get a hold of it. So I actually did like a massive tidy up last night and this morning of everything. Because I obviously do quite a lot of transactions with ingredients and stuff. So I just want to keep on top of it now. But again, it was literally just learning along with like business growing.
Interesting. That's good. And with that, I forgot what my next question was going to be now. But with like you learning accounting and everything now, you're still are you still in this mindset of like, I'm going to be a one woman band? I still got to keep saying that. Have you ever thought about kind of expanding the team, working alongside support? Obviously, I know you got support with Jamal, but maybe like an intern or whoever, someone just having like someone who can like, you can delegate something to that will allow you to kind of grow to that next step.
Yeah, I would love to. I've spoken about it with obviously the markets. I'd love to like go to more, but it's just me at the moment. So I think in the future, yeah, I would love to get someone on board who'd be willing to attend that for me. With regards to the baking, I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to really stretch myself to like the absolute limit. And I think then I will consider maybe taking people on. But at the moment, I don't think I'm quite in the position to. Just more with space than anything, because I'm still doing everything from home. But you know, it's definitely something I want to do in the future if I could expand. But yeah, more so with the markets. I think if I could get my name out there even more, I'd need the help with it. So yeah, it's definitely in the run up.
Amazing. And I guess my kind of final question is, where do you see Treats by Tea in like 5 years time? Like, where's the end goal? Is it like physical shops? Is it physical cafes? Are you gonna enter the metaverse? Like, where's your vision?
I always like these questions. I never know how to answer because with like where it is now, I never even envisioned this. I've kind of just always gone with the flow. I think now where I'm at a more stable point, I do really need to think about it. But again, it's just, do you know what would be? I used to think a shop, but because of where we live, I just, you know, it's quite a small town, so city. I don't know if it would do as well as I'd like to envision it. So I think it's markets for me. I'd love to have, you know, Treats by Tea, doing loads of little markets at the weekends, you know, interacting more personally, maybe 5 to 10 years a shop, but not anytime soon, I don't think. I think markets for me would be the way forward. But yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow.
No, it's good. I like the fact that you do go with the flow as well. And I guess another question I can pose as well, like obviously you go with the flow, but is there anyone out there, any businesses out there that you might use as like an act of being a mentor? Like, is there anything out there that you kind of look and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go like in this direction because I've seen this business has gone in this direction, or this baker has gone in this direction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my whole Instagram, I've just got people that are really inspiring to me, that I follow. I would love to get my own unit where I could bake from. So I've thankfully been in the position where we've just finished off an outdoor summer house, what I've converted into a kitchen. So I've got my own little workspace. But even putting all of my stuff into there, I've realized that may not be enough space in a few months. So if I could get my own like unit where I could bake from, and potentially have it be a place where I could open up on the weekend and people could come and buy stuff, because I've seen other bakers that's mainly the way they go now, rather than like just a physical shop. If you can get your own kitchen unit and then potentially sell from there. But I don't know. I'm just, again, like, I'll just see where it goes. It's hard enough as it is, like trying to run it and be a mum and sustain everything else. So I'm just grateful for where it is. I never ever thought I'd be in a position where I'd be doing this full time when I first put up a cookie on Instagram. So yeah.
It's an amazing journey, man. Amazing story. And yeah, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Like, so like I see you anyway. I've seen the growth from nothing to this now, and the fact that, you know, even interviewing you now is a great thing. And obviously you're always welcome to be on the channel whenever you want. So you're obviously more than welcome. You know, every week, me and Jam, we do like a hot seat question. So normally we aim it towards like yourself and us, the host, but this one we're just going to aim it towards you. So it should pop up on the screen now. So, do your followers like you for you, or do they like you for what you do?
What I do. Like, half the people don't care who's behind the screen. They just want the brownies or the cookies. I can answer that. Yeah, definitely.
Do you reckon there's like not even a single portion of like your followers who are like,
yeah, no, I say that, but I do actually have like a lot of mums that follow me, or a lot of other bakers. So I'm in touch with a lot of other small business owners, and you know, we'll conversate quite often. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is a small percentage that are interested in me or like me for me, but again, it's definitely the product.
Yeah, of course. The brownies are amazing.
Yeah.
That's good, man. All right, good, man. I like that a lot. Jam, I don't know, you got any other questions?
I guess I think we might be backtracking, but I guess in terms of what keeps you motivated, I know obviously being so close to the business and close to you, I know like each week has its own problems and its own issues, from postage to running out of stock to bakes gone wrong. What kind of keeps you like on track, or how do you find staying motivated throughout all of that? Because it's not just a journey that just goes up and everything's great and plain sailing. You have down days, down weeks, down months that you have to kind of struggle with and get by. Yeah. So what kind of keeps you motivated throughout?
I think just seeing where I am now, and just seeing the growth. Like, before having the kitchen like outside, it was seeing how many orders were coming in, or when I did have that bad week, having customers message me and say how amazing that order was. So with all those, I think we kind of normally focus on the negatives. So that one negative comment amongst the hundreds of amazing comments, you focus on that negative. Whereas now I'm more trying to focus on the positives. So yeah, there has been a lot of ups and downs, definitely. But I think it's just seeing where you are and focusing on how you've got there and why you're doing it. It makes me happy, I guess. It's like my other little baby. So yeah.
You're watching it grow and grow.
Yeah.
And grow. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It is good. No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I don't know where to take it next. I don't know. Should we wrap it up, Jam?
Yeah, no, happy, man. I think it's been a good episode. It's been good for me just to hear your story and hear it from yourself. I don't think I've actually gone through.
Well, you're there for all the bad times.
Yeah.
When someone's turned up and I don't know, I forgot their order, or I don't know. There's been a few incidents, but
that's also a talking point as well. Like, I know you personally and how you take that type of stuff, and it can be tough on you. And it's been good to see how you kind of flip that on its head, and you've turned some of your like customers that have been disappointed into your best customers that come and buy from you quite often. So yeah, it's just been good. It's been good to see that growth, like personally, as well as your growth throughout the business. And it's been Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'll shout you out, because half the times I've been in those moods, you've been there to deal with it and look after Elias. So thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't
It's really good, man. And yeah, like, to be fair, like, Jamal, you deserve your flowers as well, because even some of the parts of Tanika's story where she's talking about, you know, her ups and her downs, and it's like you have been there to be her rock and at those times, and like it's testament to who you are as a person, that, you know, you can support your other half's dreams as well as, you know, push for your own as well, and you're keeping your family together. You're encouraging her to, you know, take the opportunity. Like, she had the battle specifically where you know, you're about to sell your first cookie, and you're about to go away on holiday with your family, and your family's telling you, just leave it, but, you know, Jamal's there to say, no, you have to take this opportunity. Do you know what I mean? And that's helped you sell your first cookie, and to see that from, like, that was back then to where you are now. Like, if you didn't do that, what would have happened? Like,
I know.
do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, credit to you, Jamal, as well. We can see that you have such a good support system together, as well as raising your son as well. So it's really good. So you both deserve your flowers in this, because it's definitely a team effort here.
Yeah, definitely. All those nights as well, like, go.
Okay, yes, I'm good. I'm good.
That's good. So Tanika, where can they find you? Tell, you know, drop all your the socials, the websites. Where can the people connect with you and, you know, order their cookies?
So Instagram is __ treats by T, and then the website is www.treats-byt.com, and I post all over the UK. You can also collect if you are local to Gloucester. I don't know if many will be, but yeah, that's where you can find the goods.
Amazing. I've ordered cookies. I'm based in London. I've ordered cookies. They come safe and sound. I've had no issues. So I'm a very happy customer. So if you're hesitant to order cookies from wherever, if you're from any kind of distance from Gloucester, don't be hesitant and just go out and try these cookies, because they are amazing. And made with love as well. So good. Yes, I'm happy. All right. That is the Social Living Podcast. We out.
Thank you for having me.